Live.
We're live! Yay! Okay, guys.
Let's wait now
Okay,
for our imaginary audience.
there is already two people joining, Aga. Okay, imaginary audience.
Welcome, welcome, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. Guys, amazing news. I have figured out how to enable live comments. So if you want to
Yay.
say hi or if you want to ask any questions during our live stream, please do so. Yes, Aga. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone watching. Okay, guys, maybe let's start and let's kick it off.
Yes.
So yeah, welcome everybody to the second episode of Startups IRL, brought to you by Founders Persist. Today's topic is really exciting and very essential for scaling any startup, especially in the fintech space, and that is everything about compliance and AML. And today we are joined by obviously my co-host Aga. So welcome back again, Aga, back in the
Hi.
business. And our special guest today is Justinas, who is an AML and compliance expert with more than 10 years of experience already. So, oh, we have King. Hi, King. Hello. Hi. Joining us live. Awesome. Yeah, so maybe before we jump into the actual topic of the conversation, I will ask Justinas to introduce yourself a little bit and maybe also give us a uh, little sentence about why did you decide to join Founders Persist.
Yeah, gladly. Thank you, Vizma. And I'm happy to be here in Founders Persist second podcast. So I'm Justinas. I'm expert in anti-money laundering compliance, but also getting broader and broader in the field of compliance and risk management. And yeah, I joined Founders Persist as a builder. I didn't have my own startup, or not yet, at least. So I joined as a builder to share that knowledge about compliance, about risk management, what things should be considered, and also. I found it quite exciting as well, because being in Founders Persist will also inevitably give that chance to learn more how startups work. Yeah, so here I am.
Welcome. Thank you. Again, also from me, welcome. It's nice to see you here, Justinas. We had the opportunity to work before also together, all of us, and I'm very happy that we can also meet in this format. I'll be today your questioner. No, joking. I have a few questions here prepared to the topic of and the field that you've been in. And the first and the foremost question that we have is you've been working, which is very unique and really cool to see. You worked both big companies and small startups. So tell us, what's the fundamental difference between AML teams operating into so different environments? What's your take on that?
Hmm, That's a good question, of course. Maybe I'll start with provocation. Maybe it's not that different, but of
Oh.
course there are differences, right?
Mhm.
And if you look at the same startups, no, or okay, let's start with the corporates, right? You would expect that okay, teams are, mm, I don't know, have more seasoned talent, are more stable, have everything in order, and there's you just go and slide into that comfy position. Actually, I don't think so. There's always, if you start
Yeah.
digging, there's always that level or that residual level of messiness
Mhm.
where, ownerships are not clear or processes are not clear, and all thing compliance is always moving, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe in big companies, corporates, being in compliance team is tiny bit more stable,
Mhm.
but, it's not a guarantee. While in startups, of course, things they do move fast,
Yeah.
right? And teams also change fast, innovate fast. But at the end, if you're a startup which is thinking, about the future and that you want to survive, you want it or not, very soon, even from first months or years, you start documenting things, you start bringing that stability, that order. Especially in compliance things, there's the saying, if it's not documented, it doesn't exist. So whatever you do, you need to find time, way to document it. So yeah, the fundamental difference is, I don't know, I don't see too much. Yes, main thing is, I would say, startup feels faster, but I emphasize feels faster.
Okay. Yeah. Understood. But one thing that I think we've all experienced, and I think you experience yourself, is that we can see that in startups, people wear very many hats, right? At the same time. So now, if you apply that to AML and compliance professionals, do you think that those professionals who want to proceed with their career in startups, do they have to become more generalists, or are they still the people that specialize, the experts in their fields, or does it change?
Another good question, but I will try not to do the same provocation. Funny enough, actually, lately we were talking in Founders Persist community. I was actually writing about this topic about skill set, generalist versus subject matter experts, and the difference, how to put it, yes, you are joining, for example, startups for your subject matter expertise knowledge. For example, if someone needs, I don't know, specific product person, or let's talk about compliance. Someone needs who can write policy, implement sanction screening, KYC. These are hard skills you need to have, right? Because that's why company gets you, right? But generalist part, yes, it is also needed to be there, right? Because why? Very likely that there are many other compliance things, functions that are not there yet, or that are lost in between. And at some point, someone will need to pick it up and do something about it, right? So may it be regulatory reporting, or I don't know, you name it, right? And this is the moment where your generalist need comes in. So what my at least observation would be, yes, you are hired to start up because you are subject matter expert, but to survive there and to flourish, probably you need also that generalist dimension.
Yeah, I think I remember you once having this problem. You're a writer as a compliance person, right? You have to write a lot of stuff, but then when marketing approaches you to write how the compliance in the company works for the outer world, and you become a journalist in a different way. So it's somehow, it is what you're doing, but in a different way, right? So you have to adjust a little bit. I remember you telling that story once.
Yes, so at least several stories where, even in company where we all work together, I joined to do a KYC AML policy and implement all AML program, and I ended up doing something very unexpected, the search engine optimization keywords, and I'm like, what is that? Why we are even doing this? But sure, marketing needs help. We will help marketing.
New skill unlocked.
But yeah, that's
Guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's about learning and looking for learning opportunities.
We have a little question from the audience, so maybe we can take that one. In the
let's take it later, maybe, or let's leave some time towards end.
Okay, then let's go to the next question here, and that will also taps into this, and it is about AML programs and building them from scratch. Do you think it's easier at startups from the beginning as plain field, or is it easier in companies that are established and bigger?
Well, again, there's no one right answer. I think it's always a matter of taste. What do you prefer, right? The benefit of very often why people go to startups, so they could do things right from the very beginning and excel, apply all their best knowledge that they aggregated, right? But with that comes, this aspect where, you need to keep in mind quite a huge landscape, a huge architecture of the framework you want to build, right? And usually that sits in your mind, and you slowly build it, write it down, slower, faster, whatever, right? Write everything nice because you have zero legacy. All legacy is only the one that you create. Yeah. But then there's reality where you come to a startup, usually a few months before license application or a few months before audit or before audit deadline comes or something, right? And then you don't have that luxury of time to actually go step by step, block by block, build that really nice and complete vision that you had in mind, right? And what happens then? You leave lots of no, not corners cut, but some things, let's say, are not as polished or not as complete as you imagined. Yeah. And meanwhile, in corporate, usually you already have that framework. There are policies, procedures, supporting documentation. And when you are working in already existing framework, it's slightly different angle. Maybe I would say not so heavily architectural look is needed there to.
Did we?
I think we lost Justinas for a minute
Am I
there.
back?
Berlin internet.
Am I back?
Yes, now you're back.
Oh
You're
my
back.
You're
God.
back. Continue, please.
Okay. Cables fried in this heat. So
Yes.
what I wanted to say that when you're working in with already existing framework, you're focusing on solving particular issues where you will be inserting particular piece, update, or change in already existing thing. So it's in a way easier, right? Because you already have all this framework on the table. You need to be very analytical and not to break something on the other side of the screen. I don't know. I've worked with both, and personally, I found, of course, more exciting to create it from scratch, even if it wasn't so, let's say, as complete as I initially wanted it to be.
Yeah, you can always aspire, and I think that's the part that's thrilling about working in startups, that we all love working in startups because you're so framework. It's the same kind of innovation feeling as when you're talking about technologies. And speaking of which, do you also think in the AML area, do startups have more flexibility with experimenting with new AML technologies that are coming to the market, or is it better for established banks?
Okay, that's a good one. Of course, this intuitively I tend to agree. Yes, startups do have more freedom for this experimentation to try new things and move fast. Always to have that one more product demo, that one more supplier tool in the toolkit, whatever, right? Yeah, but there's always that's on paper. Again, in practice, what happens very often, really nice and cool stuff has a price tag, and usually not that cheap, right? So although there is freedom and, let's say, flexibility, very limited legacy or even no legacy to plug in these tools or start using them, but it's not always that you have big budgets where you can resource these tools, right? Meanwhile, on the contrary, in bigger companies or corporates, usually you do have money, at least some money. Compliance is not hard. I never saw yet overfunded compliance teams, but usually there is a budget. How much it will cost. Needs to be that needs to happen will happen, right? And meanwhile, again, I just remember myself a couple of interesting demos that I had myself as working in startups, like super nice and cool tools, right? Doing it was a okay, maybe I will not do free commercial, but let's say it was pre-AI boom company that was already offering automated solutions to close cases for, let's say, for screening and so on. And it looks super cool. And I'm so eager to, okay, let's have it in our startup. Let's be super smart and cool. And in reality, yeah, it ended up that's you need at least 100K to start, and let's say that was a hard stop. So yeah, that didn't happen. But yeah, and just about this experimentation for big companies, I just want to try to keep that balance, because at the end it's more perception that big companies don't innovate that fast. In reality, yes, there are more, let's say, gatekeepers, more stakeholders. That's why it doesn't feel that fast. But innovation and exploration with these tools, it is happening, right? And yeah, okay, maybe a full stop here.
Interesting. Okay, we talked a lot about the compliance skills and all the regulatory needs and what you require from people, but let's talk about the humans more and about the human skills, soft skills. What do you think do people in AML teams and compliance team need when it comes to soft skills, especially when working in a fast-paced startup environment? What would you say are those skills that you look also, because you also hired your own teams in this area? So it would be awesome to know for people who would want to start in this field.
Okay, so we are talking just soft skills. I assume
Yes.
you are already your expert in your field.
Check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Check. Okay, then I would say teamwork, especially teamwork, because teams are usually in startups small, right? So you cannot have this friction in collaborating, because usually you need to collaborate very fast and very efficient to achieve business goals, right? Yeah, so this would be one soft skill. And other, I don't know, it's somewhere in between soft and hard skills. It's, I would say, negotiation maybe, or maybe you can put communication, because in compliance, how to put it, you very often you end up being sort of salesperson, but within the company you need to sell idea that, yeah, we maybe need to have this tool, or maybe we need to create this process, or maybe we need to strengthen this, and this would be super good idea. This could save us, help us to prevent potential losses of that and that million. So that comes really handy. But of course, we are talking about probably more senior positions who are working already on frameworks, not necessarily daily operations.
Okay, and the last, my last question, but also the last skill that I would like to talk about with AML professionals, that will be a great bridge to the question that King also asked, that we can ask after, is about tech savviness. Do you think that AML professionals in fintech startups have to be tech savvy? Is it nowadays, and we're talking specifically nowadays, a requirement? Do they have to code? Do they have to understand the technology they're working with? Or is it just a nice to have?
Well, it never hurts to understand technologies you're working with, right? Is it a absolute must to have? I don't know. I wouldn't be very categorical, but definitely being tech savvy makes you much more employable, especially in context of startups, where the more you know, the more you can, the more value you are bringing to the table, right? And I can, for example, give just my personal example. In one of my previous jobs, I was sort of I think, triple hatting or quadruple hatting. So I was building compliance framework, doing compliance operations, doing product support slash heavily involved in product, and also serving as sort of data engineer. So you can imagine that's many hats to juggle. Of course, as I initially thought, yeah, I'm there to do compliance, but I end up doing many more things. And this tech savviness makes me, let's say, useful in contexts where I'm most immediately needed. And in general, I would say yes, it helps a lot. And why I want to call out something. For example, very often you will see now in many startup positions, benefit for knowing SQL, right? And how come SQL for many entry-level jobs or people trying to get into the startups there's like swear word, and why would you need that or so? The reality is very simple. If you're working in a established company, corporate, something, whatever, yeah, maybe you have some nice business analytics tools, some nice back office where you just go type the name you want to see or type the exactly what you want to see. Maybe you can even do some things there. Well, in startups, usually internal users' experience is not necessarily that important. So you will end up, okay, you need to analyze some data, transactions, do some, I don't know, analysis overall of the clients or client population. Okay, we don't have back office, but here's the access to some tables and sometimes even production tables, and good luck. So of course, this becomes quite challenging. And again, if you know some basic SQL, it's just, I would say, it's good to be there, especially two more moments I want just to emphasize. Today, it's everywhere, easy to get it.
Yeah.
And second one, now very often you can just leverage generative AI, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need to be a professional to use SQL. Just having a general understanding will help a lot. And so full stop
This
here.
helps. Hmm.
Yes, let's take some
Thank you
questions.
so much. Thank you so much. Then let's take the questions. Vizma, maybe you could talk us through the question from Queen.
Yeah, so we had a question in the chat. In the light of the recent surge in cybercrime and data breaches, what do you advise for startups?
Okay, that's a good one.
Wear the different hats now.
Okay, so good that I have a spare hat from my bag. So what to do for startups? Don't neglect basic functions. That's being information security and cybersecurity. Because look, where very often these things happen are because loose controls or let's say backgrounds of companies you are collaborating are not checked. I'm not expert in cybersecurity. I would say I'm just as I'm data enthusiast, I can be also cybersecurity enthusiast. But what I want to say, these things, compliance and information security, it's not usually places where you want to save the money, especially in early stages, because failures in these areas later cost a lot, especially reputational damage and so on. And you can even, you may need even to close your business if you have some huge leaks, huge penalties, and so on. So advice would be invest in critical areas. Don't neglect your cybersecurity. Experiment responsibly. I must add, test your tools, test your systems, right? Because usually many vulnerabilities, no, okay, I will not go and pretend that I know much about cybersecurity, but the idea there is do your cybersecurity hygiene. It doesn't guarantee like any compliance or risk management effort that you are immune, But if you don't have it, you can be sure if you meet some virus or attacker or some problem that you will definitely then be in trouble.
Yeah, 100%. Don't cut corners, people. Don't cut corners. Okay, cool. I mean, this was so interesting to listen to. I think it was such a deep dive into compliance. So thank you so much, Justinas. Maybe my
Any more
last
questions?
question. Yeah, exactly. So maybe my last question to you would be like, after all these years of being in the startup space, but also generally working in compliance, um, what keeps you going? What keeps it exciting to be in compliance?
Okay. So I'll try to give a serious answer. Or, of course, at the end, it's I don't know. Let's say people in compliance hardly ever make millions, so it's not money, let's say, or not just, but it's more about also seeing the purpose of your job, right? Because at the end, yes, you have dual purpose. I would say yes, you enable businesses to be compliant. I'm talking, of course, from my own field perspective, that they can continue without more or less no losses or with minimal losses and minimal problems with the regulators. But there's this other angle, because at the end of the day, you do contribute to this much bigger effort, and especially when we are talking about anti-money laundering compliance, where my focus is. So you do help to interrupt this money laundering, terrorism financing, very often other criminal illicit activities. And if you inhale, close your eyes, and think very, very big, yes, you are making a world probably tiny bit better place.
And be honest, you like being a little bit of a detective also in those cases, right?
Yes, I mean, how to put it? Yes, you are a detective in these cases, but it's more when you're working with operational work, with
Yeah.
the actual AML investigations cases. Now I mean, sometimes I do pick up something to investigate, but now it's more like, more and more paperwork, legislations, directives, and so on. And okay, what do we do with them? So
A
these days,
retired
much
detective.
less of detective.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so to wrap it up, maybe there's somebody who's watching this episode and who's like, wow, this sounds really, really exciting. I want to be a detective as well. I want to be an AML hero. Like, what would be one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's starting out in this field?
Mhm. I would say be curious and be open-minded, because this field is ever moving. It's never standing in one place. Regulations get updated. Risks are evolving. Let's say now today's big boogeyman is generative AI, because just as all companies are celebrating how they can improve their business efficiency, criminals are also improving their criminal enterprises efficiency. So be open, know these technologies. It is moving field. So you are interested in making a world tiny bit better place. Of course, join compliance and I will not promote. There are many great career paths in startups, and compliance might be quite particular part. It's let's say quite different experience than being in, I don't know, sales or marketing in startup. But I do think that this is rewarding, I would say, but you need to remind yourself, where your value is coming from, because if it's startups love to talk about speed, making money, being fast and agile. Yes, of course, but compliance is a little bit, sometimes may appear boring or may appear as a, as a break for business, slowing it down. But actually, yeah, it is enabler, I would say. It enables you to steer business because, imagine a car that has only one pedal which can accelerate. I don't know if you would like to drive such a car. Personally, I wouldn't. So it's exactly having proper way to address risks you are facing. Maybe sometimes make these business recommendations to slow down certain areas, fix things that you can do that corner and then keep pushing. Okay.
100%. Yeah, I think that this like car analogy is really bringing it to life. Okay, guys, I think we are at time. So thank you for everyone who joined us live, and for everybody who's watching on YouTube. Hello, guys. So yeah, check out our LinkedIn page if you're curious about joining Founders Persist as a community, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Justinas. This was very awesome to have you here.
Thank you both.
Thank you,
Okay, guys.
Justinas.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.